With E3 over for another year, I can now admit, like many people, I was rather sad and disappointed that Nintendo didn't hold a digital event. I guess it's because they didn't particularly have too much to show off. However, what they did have was pretty freaking awesome. There was a whole day of Zelda. There was a lot to see and I stayed awake for most of it too. Here I've collected some things that I liked most in The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Would you look at that serenity? It's a hell of a view, and it's actually pretty breathtaking knowing that everything you can see is somewhere Link can go. From up this high, you also get to see how varied the world is. You've got the grassy areas, more desert, snow. It looks just as good at night too, if not better. Keep in mind that the world is very expansive and goes much beyond. In fact, I went ahead and tried to piece together the whole map from the little snippets that they showed. The brown area in the middle there is called the Plateau, and it was the only area that was available to explore in the demo. You can see just how expansive the world actually is, and how many regions there are. That's a pretty damn big Zelda game. Just check out how the light changes as a cloud passes overhead. That's pretty awesome. And the different times of day can make for some pretty stunning lollygagging views. As we saw in the announced trailer back in 2014, Link has a pretty awesome bow and arrow at his disposal for eliminating the Guardians. It's stylized and looks great. However, we got to learn a bit about the weapons and items in game, and I think there's something I like better than this. There's a whole host of different weapons and items to use and collect, all with varying strengths and abilities. When you pick something up, you can see what level it's at, from bows to swords and axes and tree branches, and even more. Yet, you can only carry a finite amount, so some forethought might have to go into what you take with you to face certain battles. Some of my favourites so far include this giant battle axe, and even those remote control bombs. The best part being that you don't run out, you just need to wait for a meter to recharge before you can use another bomb. I'm also a fan of the new aiming reticule for the bow and arrows. I love how you can see the arrow count right there. Oh, and check this out, a flaming club! That's a handy way to open a chest. So far, this would have to be my favourite weapon. A Stalfos Bokoblin arm. Look at a wiggle. And you can beat them to death with their own body parts! Some of these items are pretty cool too. One of the more interesting ones being a magnet. It's pretty cool that you can just go ahead and completely remove an obstacle in your way. And an inventive way of using it is to pick up a weapon and smack around your opponent, as ineffective as it might be. Then there's the ability to freeze things in time. This should make for some rather interesting puzzles. There's even a few different ways to traverse the world as well. Snowboarding is always fun. Legend of Zelda 1080 snowboarding. And hang gliding is both practical and a scenic way to travel. The Hyrule Slate is a great new addition to The Legend of Zelda. It's an ancient tablet that Link uses for a slew of different things on his quest. And by tablet, I don't just mean a piece of stone. It's basically Link's iPad. Reminiscent of Snake's iDroid, the Hyrule Slate provides much information. For starters, it provides you with a map of Hyrule. It also allows you to mark points of interest that you might want to come back to check out later. There's different icons to use too, so you can easily identify what it is you want to come back for. But why should you have to just set a marker like that? Why not use the Hyrule Slate as binoculars instead? Not only does it help you scope out what's ahead, but you can mark a point of interest while looking at it. And as well as in the world, they show up on the map too. A whole host of weapons opens up the opportunity to defeat enemies in more ways than ever before. Sure, you've got the classic Zelda sword fighting action, but that isn't your only option. Why not do it Metal Gear style and sneak up to the guard in the watchtower and take him out when he least expects it? Also, is it just me or do these guys look like red pig-nosed stitches? And you could always have some fun chasing away enemies while at the same time destroying the home of thousands of bees. Heck, you can even go all Temple of Doom on their asses. When that doesn't work, try firebombing them with flaming arrows. Burn, baby. Speaking of fire, you can warm up the pyromaniac that lives deep inside you. Only you can start forest fires. Use the wind to your advantage and have that fire trail blow up some explosive barrels, bringing your enemies down to burn. Say, why not put that new magnet to use? Let's roll the bomb down the hill! If you can work out how to read the undulation of the land, you might just get to blow them up. That's if you can. When that doesn't work, just go to their lair while they're sleeping and chuck a bomb. You only need to use one. Amiibo are pretty cool, and there's no exception when it comes to Breath of the Wild. If you have Wolf Link, give him a tap and he appears beside you to help out with whatever needs doing. Whether it's going for a stroll or fighting enemies, this dog has your back. Even if you're just out for a hunt, he'll bring down that boar. Not to say the game won't have its own amiibo. Take a look at these. This is what I like to call Horsey Link, shrouded in mystery with that hood of mystery. Keep in mind, these are likely prototypes and might not look quite as detailed, but Wolf Link was pretty good. That's the bar they should aim for. Here's Link in that pose from the original trailer when he was fighting the Guardian. Also, we have the Guardian itself. This might quickly become my favorite amiibo. If I had to choose just one of these three, it would be this one. Something I was really impressed with in gameplay was the physics engine. You can push this giant boulder down the hill and just watch it roll. The best part is, every time you do it is going to be different depending on the shape of the terrain and which way you push it. It's really neat how it reacts realistically to the environment. See, look, it almost killed the old guy. Another cool thing with the physics and boulders is when you use the time freeze item on one, and then smack the absolute crap out of it with a hammer, when time goes back to normal, it just goes flying. How cool would it be if there was a group of enemies just over that hill? They wouldn't see it coming. It also makes for some interesting puzzles where if you don't get things just right, you've got no hope of succeeding. She shoots, she scores. Oh, and speaking of previously unmentioned Wind Waker references, Link once again has a leaf, which he can use to make wind. Hey, you know what I mean. It's really cool how the raft is not only affected by Link's efforts to move it, but also by the flow of the river. I hope there's not a waterfall down there. Look at this strapping young lad. He doesn't need society to tell him he's got to cover up with clothing. Heck no, if he wants to run around naked, he can go right ahead. Apparently he can take off nearly all of his clothes and play the entire game like that. Sure, it will be challenging as the environment has an effect, but there are solutions to all problems. In the cold, Link can start a fire and keep warm. He can even carry it around while adventuring to make sure he doesn't freeze to death. Finally, I have to mention all the nods and references to The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Straight up, Koroks are in the game. Those cute little tree bastards. Maybe they succeeded in making the world a better place after all. Then there's the title of the game, Breath of the Wild. Breath. You know, kinda like wind? Yeah? Am I reaching? And hang on, what about this old man? He looks kinda familiar? Wait a second. King of Red Lions? Who knows, all old guys look the same though. I also noticed all these towers scattered about the place, kind of similar to the lookout towers in Wind Waker. They look tall enough to be just poking out of the flooded Hyrule as well. People have also noticed other similarities, and there are a heap of theories out there on how the two games are related. But then again, maybe we're all just looking at it too hard. There you have it. They were my favourite things from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild shown off during E3. What did you like best? Did I miss something? Tell us in the comments below. If you like this video and want to see more, feel free to check out the iSoccer Video Games channel or even subscribe.